If you haven't heard, Mercedes are no longer producing the E-Class Coupe or the C-Class Coupe, but they still wanted to have a sporty coupe in their lineup. So what did they do? They gave the E-Class Coupe buyers a bit of a more sporty experience and the C-Class Coupe buyers more room. And the result is this beauty right here. This is a 2025 Mercedes CLE, the top engine choice in this one, the non-AMG, the 450, meaning that we do have 380 horsepower in this thing, and this is a lot quicker than I was expecting. So what we're gonna do in this video is have a look, walk over this design. There are a couple of things that I love about this design, couple of things that I really can't stand. I don't understand why Mercedes did that. So we're gonna talk about all those details in the front end, the side, the rear, the beautiful interior that also has some quirks to it that we're gonna talk about. And then of course, last but not least, I'm gonna take you for a drive in this and show you just how quick this thing is. The 2025 Mercedes CLE450 4MATIC is powered by a mild hybrid 3-liter turbocharged inline-6, putting out 375 horsepower and 369 pound-feet of torque. It's actually a lot quicker than I was expecting. I'm gonna show you that in the driving segment of this video later on. Connected to a 9-speed automatic, you got 4MATIC, meaning that you do have all-wheel drive. 0 to 60 takes about 4.2 seconds. Top speed 155 miles per hour. Fuel economy comes in at 23 city, 33 highway. The base price for this is around $65,000. Alright, so let's start with the front end design. Let's see what Mercedes did here with the new CLE. I love the styling, overall styling for the front end. I do think it looks very cool. Mercedes called this a shark nose, where you have the front end being coming out here and having the furthest point being this part up here, then it goes inwards and then out down at the bumper, creating this shark nose design when you look at it from this view right here. The graphics looks beautiful. We do have some typical Mercedes styling down here with the black graphics in this case for this specific version and the Alpine white. I do think the black contrasts nicely with this white color. And for 2024, 2025 models, we also have this upside down grille now. So instead of the smiling grille, we now have the more frowning grills in the front end, which honestly I think it suits this design. However, there are a couple of things that I personally would like to change here, this being the 450, the top non-AMG CLE. I would like to remove this hard plastic that we have covering up this entire area down here and have this be open. It doesn't really matter if it's of course I would love to see it functional, but just open it up a little bit. We do have the air curtain right here, so it does have some functionality to it. And if you look at the grille here, I would much rather prefer to have the AMG grille than this grille right here with the chrome bar in the middle and all these small little Mercedes stars inside of this grille. There are probably 500 of them in this grille. Big Mercedes logo in the front end, opening down here, which is good. You also have the Mercedes stars in this plastic all over this place. Coming up close and personal with the headlight design here. It's a beautiful design. I love that we have one single LED up top, looking very clean. I also a huge fan of this line here, creating this beautiful chamfer up top. And if you look up here, we have some nice lines in the hood. Very simple design for this car. And also these bulges that you have, two ridges in the hood here, similar to what we had in Mercedes performance models. Pretty much, I would say most models since the SLK from 1997, which started this trend. It goes back all the way to the original SL, of course, but previous models in modern times, it started with the SLK. Full LED here, of course, you have LED high performance stamped in there and Mercedes here on the sides. Now the side view of the CLE. This is by far my favorite view for this specific car because it looks more like the old C-Class Coupe instead of the E-Class Coupe. Always thought the C-Class Coupe looked better than the E-Class Coupe, and thankfully they took most of the styling. If you look at the greenhouse here, for example, this line right here, that kind of kings up a little bit in this area. If you look at just this portion of the car, it looks almost identical to the old C-Class Coupe, which is a very good thing. Love the shoulder line here. We have a very sharp chiseled line right here that fades in to the door. Nothing here, calm ocean here, and then it comes back in the front end as well. Beautiful proportions and overall beautiful styling with this lower section as well that has a clear connection to what's going on in the bumper here. Beautiful line flow and proportions overall for the CLE. If we look at the wheels and tire setup of this car, this one is optioned with the 20-inch optional wheels. That's about $1,100. I like the design. I don't love the design of these wheels, but I do think they look pretty good. We have two 45s in the front end, two 75s in the rear end, this being a 4MATIC, putting the power down to all four wheels. And we do have this aero design for the wheels with these covered pieces on the very outside here. I do like the elegant style of this, but personally I would maybe want to have a little bit sportier design for this specific car. One detail here graphically that is a little bit annoying to me is if you look at all the graphics here, we have a black around the greenhouse here, we have a black caps for the side mirrors. We don't have any cameras here because even if you pay over $70,000 for this car, you don't get the 360 camera in here, which is pretty crazy to me. I do think that would be option for this specific car. But the thing here, if you look at the door handle, it's chrome on the top half of the door handle while the bottom half is body colored, and I don't understand why Mercedes decided to just splash a little bit of chrome on one specific detail, which is the door handle, while everything else is blacked out. I want to have this either be in black, that would work fine for me, or have it just be full body color like we have on the lower section right here. Another interesting graphic detail is if you look at the roof here, we do have the panoramic sunroof up top, and then we have this section that is body colored in white and then going back into glass. This area here, I would want to have this be black, so we have a continuous black surface up top on the roof and not this weird squared off white piece right in the middle. But coming around to the rear end here, this is more of an EQ series like graphics for the taillights. I still think it looks a lot better here than in any other EQ car. I also like this spoiler that we have up top, but there are a couple of things back here that makes absolutely zero sense to me that I think Mercedes could have done in a much better way. So let's check out the rest of the rear end. Let's start with the good things about the rear end. Overall, I do think the graphics, the placements of everything looks very clean. I like that we have a similar connection here with the LEDs like we have in the front end with one single LED like this. But then we have this interesting empty black plastic piece in the middle. So I would either do two solutions here. Either just cut the taillight off right here and have this be white, or extend this LED and create a full light bar, which would be in line with the trend of the last 5 years. But instead they decided to just melt this piece together, these two taillights together, with an empty black plastic piece in the middle. Now further down, this is where it gets very, very interesting. First of all, the diffuser doesn't really do anything. It's just here for styling purposes, and yeah, it does look pretty cool. I agree. It looks sportier than if we would just have a white diffuser diaper, for example. However, when you go down to the tailpipes, you might think that these are actually exhaust pipes, but they're all covered up, and I don't understand why Mercedes would do that, because the tailpipes, they sit down here, they're just pointing downwards, you can't see them, so why not just open this up and have the tailpipes sit inside of these housing? That's one detail that does not make any sense to me why Mercedes decided to go with this solution. Another small little graphic detail that Mercedes is putting on pretty much every single car these days is this cutout right here in the side of the bumper. It houses nothing, it's just a plastic piece that covers this piece up. I want to have this be open so we have a vent from the rear wheel well shooting out some air here, reducing pressure in there. But instead, they just carved this out and had this be non-functional. But overall, you can see just how planted this looks. I think Mercedes these days look almost more planted than the original plantedness top-of-the-line car from Germany, BMW, back in the mid-90s, early 2000s. So I think Mercedes is taking over that throne to be the most planted German cars for their normal cars these days. And this is just a 450. Then you have the CLE450 AMG, which comes with even wider fenders than this, and that one looks absolutely stunning. However, this still looks very, very sporty, even though the driving feel, which we're going to talk about more in a minute, is more that of a GT car than a sports car. However, it is seriously quick, this thing. Now you might wonder, where is the trunk release for for this car. So if you pop this star here, if you push the top part of the star, it's going to open up the trunk, and you're also going to see that we do have the camera hidden right underneath there. So this is power assisted, opens up pretty easily like that, and this trunk is actually bigger. You can put more stuff in here than you can in the E-Class sedan. So it is truly a GT car. You can have a lot of stuff and luggage in here, and as I said, it's also power assisted just like that. Let's check out what's going on in the interior of the 2025 Mercedes CLE450. And in here it is a lot like the C-Class. Let's fire it up here. It's not very loud when you fire it up, but that's totally fine. You do have an 11.9-inch infotainment screen right here in the middle, and a 12.3-inch fully digital gauge cluster. I like the gauge cluster of Mercedes. I just wish that this sat deep inside the dash, as you know, with a beautiful housing for it, instead of just on, you know, a screen like this that's sort of planted right there behind the steering wheel. But it does have a nice base for it. It feels like they put some effort into making it feel semi-integrated in this interior. Up top we do have leather wrapped soft touch material up here, very soft actually. I do like the design of these vents. It feels very retro, and they have a nice quality click feel to them when you use them. Looking very cool as well. You have the same vents on each side for the passenger and the driver over here. On the left side you have the engine start button here, automatic on and off for the engine at red lights. That button is located right underneath the start button, because I think Mercedes knows that a lot of people wants to turn that off immediately as they turn on the car, such as me. And I always do that right after I turn on the car. Now, looking at this infotainment screen, this is similar to what we have in the GLC. I do believe we have that in the C-Class as well. If you sit right here and look at it, it might look like it is absolutely centered in the middle, but it has a 6-degree angle towards the driver. And if you look at it from a straight midpoint like this, you can see that it's just slightly tilted. It feels like it's set, this piece right here sat in the sun for too long, and it started to melt just a little bit to the side. What I want to do here is either have it be straight up, preferably I want to have it be centered, or I want to have a much more pronounced angle towards the driver. This, like in between, doesn't feel like it knows what it wants to do. And also, if you have this in a convertible, this angle here is going to create a lot of glare. That is another reason why I always prefer to have these displays sit within a housing, because it's going to reduce the glare. This angle is straight up to the sunroof now, so it's going to create a lot of glare on sunny days, specifically if you go with a convertible. But the system itself feels pretty nice. You do have a lot of features in here. With a lot of apps. You can also go to the, if you go to the info tab right here, you have the vehicle engine and the performance numbers there, wireless Apple CarPlay and Android Auto, of course. And further down we do have this climate control setting here, which is a static bar at the lower section, which is something that a lot of people, users, buyers of these cars, have complained about, because it's not that easy to adjust when you're on the go. So what Mercedes said is, I think they said that they're actually going to go back to some physical knobs and dials in the future, which is fantastic news. If we can just have the screen be, let's say, 9 inches, this top piece be the lower, and have the lower piece be just an array of physical buttons down here, that would be my preferred solution for the button situation in here. And if we go in here, we have a lot of settings for the assistance, vehicle light system, apps, and info as well. You can adjust a lot of things here. This car comes equipped with the Burmester sound system, which is a decent sound system. I do like the design of the speakers themselves. It just brings up some elegant feel to this car. This is an interesting material here. I'm not sure. I think this is plastic, but it looks like wood, and it has some nice texture to it here as well, with the silver trim up top and down low here, going all around here in this waterfall design. Pretty classic layout for the interior, even though we have a lot of modern features implemented in the software. Now, they are going to change this infotainment screen as well, so you're gonna get the tilted one, so you can actually, it's a pivot point right here, and they're gonna put that in this car as well, so you can tilt this back and forth and at least a little bit reduce the glare that comes from the top. One pretty interesting feature when it comes to for the comfort setting is you have all the comfort setting here with the temp control, the fan speed and so on. But if you want heated or cool seats, which this one is equipped with, you're gonna have to go to the door, because those buttons are located right here on the door next to the seat adjustments here. And I forgot to mention, if you go into let's see, comfort right here, you have all these seat options as well. You have massaging seats, you have kinetic seats as well, which means that the seats sort of adjust their bolstering and support automatically over time. So if you're going for a long road trip, it's gonna sort of not feel like you're sitting in the same position at all time. I guess it's gonna make longer road trips more comfortable. You have deep waves, deep workout massage, relaxing massage for these seats. Very fancy stuff. And ambient lighting, you can change that up inside here as well if you want to. Now further down here you have this array of, I wouldn't call this physical buttons, because these are more touch buttons. You have the drive modes here, you have eco, you have comfort, sport, or individual, so you can set up the individual mode to have whatever you want. And you also have the camera button here, and as I said, you don't have 360 camera here, but you do have a very high resolution backup camera in addition to parking sensors all around the car. If you click this car button here, you're gonna get more functions and more settings. For example, turning off the traction control, you do that in here. Manual shift, you can change that up here, and parking sensors and so on. You also have the hazards here, and the on and off for the entire screen if you want to turn that off, and the volume slider on the very right side of this little bar here. Some carbon fiber looking trim in the middle section, 2 USBs here, and you also have 2 USB-Cs down here, and these are extra USBs that will cost you, I do believe, $300 to get 2 extra USB-Cs, which is pretty pricey. You do have the wireless charger here as well. You can cover this up to have a much more clean look. Under here you also have 2 cup holders and some storage for your keys. Opening this up opens up like a split opening here. Pretty small storage for the armrest, but it's decent enough for this type of vehicle. Very soft and comfortable to rest your arm here on longer drives. Now these seats, first of all, the design of these seats just look great. They look like the back muscles of a bodybuilder when I look at these seats. Very organic styling, and as I said, ventilated and heated seats. Beautiful design, they're very comfortable, and you can configure them and set them up exactly like you want inside of this system right here. It also has a adjustable headrest here, so if you press this button on the side, you can move the headrest back and forth. Some of the most beautiful seats I think I've ever seen in 2025 belongs to this CLE, and these are specifically designed for the CLE. Now looking at the steering wheel here, very sporty steering wheel for a non-AMG. This looks to be that it could come from an AMG version. You have these typical Mercedes bars on each side. You have the controls for the infotainment screen up top here on the right side, and the volume button, and also the voice command and the cruise control buttons are located on the left side. And if you want to adjust the infotainment, the gauge cluster, you do that with the left side top bar here. You have a bunch of different layouts for the gauge cluster. I like to keep it in either classic or sport. Leather wrapped, of course, all around. Very fat steering wheel. I sort of like that. It gives you a nice grip with the perforation here on the sides. You have pedals on the back side. Not the biggest pedals, but they do have a very nice feel to them when you use them. Flat bottom steering wheel as well. Now looking at the infotainment screen here, as I said, configurable. You can have the entire map here if you want to do that, or you can have it in classic and adjust what information you want in the center portion of the screen, which is also very, very useful. Now looking on the inside of the doors here, this is a typical Mercedes door handle. Very sturdy, all metal, feels solid in quality. It doesn't give you the best grip when you want to close the door because it's very fat to just have this big handle to grab, but you have metal for the window controls here as well, and the mirror controls are located here too, with the ventilated and heated seats button like we talked about. I also love this metal chair here. It makes it very easy to figure out how to adjust the seats. Now looking up top, we do have this big sunroof up top. You use this slider to open it up or close it back back down. I'm gonna keep it open for now. In this case, we don't have a head-up display, and honestly, I'm totally fine with that. I'm personally not a fan of head-up displays, specifically when you have the gauge cluster right there. It just gives the duplicate information up top and sort of distracts me when I'm driving. So I'm totally fine with not having a head-up display there. Last but not least, we do have this big glove box here. The back seat is bigger than the old C-Class Coupe for sure, because this is actually long. The overall length of this car is longer than the old E-Class Coupe. So you do get some space back there. Probably not somewhere that I would like to sit for a very long time as an adult, but if you have kids, they could definitely fit back there, no problems. They also have 2 cup holders and some vents here down below. All right, so how does this 2025 Mercedes CLE450 4MATIC drive? Well, as I said when we talked about the exterior, it's a very, very quick car, 0 to 60 in about 4.2 seconds. Some people have even got it down to 4 seconds, which is just crazy to me in a non-AMG. But you do have 375 horsepower in this thing. It's a mild hybrid, so you have a lot of torque from the down low, and then you also have 369 pound-feet of torque. So it is a powerful inline turbo 6, this thing, and it handles really well. The thing about this Mercedes drive modes is, if you have it in comfort, it is going to be a very comfortable car.
Repeat your input, please.
And you also have this voice command system that is always listening to you, so she might start talking at random times. Just gonna have to live with that. So let's put it into sport here. As I said, if you have it in comfort, it is a very comfortable car, and if you have it in sport, it really switches out the driving dynamics of this car.
Can you say that again, please?
So just going uphill here, that was 0 to 60 and I don't know how much, and we're also on a pretty steep uphill here, so it's not bad at all. It's a very powerful engine, super smooth power delivery thanks to the mild hybrid that we have in this car. Overall, I mean, the driving experience for this, it's exactly what I was expecting it to be from a Mercedes. More on the comfortable side than the sporty side, I would say. If you want to, you can also use the paddles, which not the most responsive, quickest paddles in this car, but you can still have some fun with it for sure. 9-speed automatic in this car, and it definitely goes. The thing is, it's a lot quicker than I was expecting it to be. It almost feels like a little mini AMG. Let's bring up the info, the performance stats here. So you have vehicle, and you can see the acceleration percentage, the brake percentage, and the tilt of the or the angle of the car. Or if you can go into engine, you have pretty much the same stats here, with a very cool graphic visualization of the horsepower and the torque on the left side. So there's no one behind me, no one in front of me either. So let's go down to first gear here real quick, and let's just floor it 0 to 60. Let's go. And we're up to 60. As I said, it just really pulls, and it also sounds very, very good, this car. Inline sixes most of the time sound very good, and this is no different. I'm really glad they didn't put the 4-cylinder in this, even though that's what you get if you go with the CLE300, which I do believe is also going to be sold here in the United States. Oh yeah. As I said, the suspension is more set up, even though we have it in sport, it's more set up for a softer, smoother ride, which is totally on brand for what this car is. So now we're coming on to the highway here. So let's put it in to comfort, and let's just chill out here. Let's go into the seat settings here as well, comfort settings. Seat kinetics, let's turn that on. Maybe let's do some relaxing massage here. Deep workout sounds good, so let's put that on and see what that feels like. Ooh, lower back pushing in there. Feels pretty good. Not bad for massaging seats. Usually they don't really work that well, but here you can feel some knuckles in your back just digging in there, and if you press back to the seat, it's gonna feel it even more. On the highway right now, we're in 9th gear. We're sitting at 70 miles per hour and spinning at 1500 RPM. This is a fantastic road trip car. That's a beautiful A5 just passed me as well. Competition for this one. Got the new A5 and S5s out now. We don't have the A4 anymore, which is very strange. But for the money, I mean, $72,000 is this one is spec'd. You can spec it even more. You can have the head-up display if you want to. It's going to add some cost to this car. It's getting very, very close to M4 territory there. And if it was me, the M4 definitely is a lot quicker than this, and it has more of that raw sportiness than this has. I think there are two different souls, the CLE and the 4 Series in general. The 4 Series, as I said, feels more like that athletic cousin, while this one is more of a laid-back, chill GT cruiser vibe. Still very powerful, but I don't think it comes close to the handling that you get with the 4 Series or the M4. Still have the massaging seats on. It actually feels very nice, I have to say. I'm impressed with these massage seats that we have in the CLE. All right, so we're on these mountain roads here, but let's put it back, of course, into sport, manual, down to 2nd gear, and this is where this car comes alive. It just feels very tight in the corners, even though still in sport very, very comfortable, but it just pulls. Feels like it has more than the 375 horsepower claimed, but I do think that has to do with the mild hybrid that we have in this car as well. Sounds really good too. I guess the question is, which one do you buy, the BMW or the Mercedes at this price point? And I think that totally depends on your personality, what you're looking for in the car. If you're looking for a more GT-like cruiser that is still very powerful and sporty and fun on roads like this, or are you looking for the more athletic version of the same car, which is essentially the BMW, for a very similar price? And I think that comes down to your preference. Personally, I like what Mercedes has done here with the CLE. As I said, I love the exterior styling, that they took more inspiration from the C-Class and the E-Class. However, the fake vents all over this car, I don't understand. And the fake exhaust, same thing there. I don't know why Mercedes went that route, and BMW does not have those type of fake plastic in the front and the rear. But overall, it's a beautiful looking car and it drives well. This is a car that you can go forever in and just take off the highway whenever you want, put it into sport if you want to have some fun while you're on your long road trip, and then while you're back on the highway, put it back into comfort, and you can go cross country in this thing.